Trump wants money. He wants the oil. He wants to give deals to his cronies, possibly himself. He has failed to mention the word democracy at all as a motive or as a goal here.
But now, President Trump strikes on Venezuela, and the subsequent capture of its president, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife on Saturday have drawn international condemnation, not least from Democratic lawmakers in the United States. They've said that the operation violates international law and did not have the necessary approval from Congress. Well, who will fill the power vacuum left in Venezuela? The US president says it's his administration for the time being.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about.
Well, Maduro is currently in a detention centre in Brooklyn facing drugs and weapons charges, and he's likely to be in court as early as tomorrow. Sidney Blumenthal is a former senior advisor to Bill and Hillary Clinton. I am delighted to say he joins me now. Welcome to the show, Sidney.
Glad to be here.
Well, thank you so much for making time to speak to us today this extraordinary weekend. Sidney, just how much of an overreach is this by Donald Trump?
Well, let's understand what it is. We've never seen anything like this before. This is a decapitation as spectacle, as theater, without regime change as substance. Trump says he's going to run Venezuela, a gigantic country. Right now, he has no control over the military there. He has left in place all the instruments of the state. There are tens of thousands of Cuban operatives still there. The administration is in the hands of the former administration through its vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, and her brother, Jorge Rodriguez, who was head of the National Assembly. And there is no fundamental change in the nature of the state in Venezuela. And what we're seeing here is Maduro being brought before a New York court with charges unsealed, in which it is stated that fentanyl is not one of the drugs mentioned, which is the reason that Trump gave in his executive order for this attack on Venezuela. So he is not running Venezuela. He's not going to run Venezuela. And the facts as we know them are that he has essentially handed this over to the vice president. And there are many remaining questions of whether or not this involved an internal coup.
Right, interesting. Sidney, what is Trump's endgame here? What do you think he really wants out of this?
Trump wants money. He wants the oil. He wants to give deals to his cronies, possibly himself. He has failed to mention the word democracy at all as a motive or as a goal here. He trashed and threw under the bus, as we say, Corina Machado, the opposition leader, supposedly standing for the Democratic opposition, who was granted the Nobel Peace Prize. He said she was not respected or liked and that she had no following. So he tossed her aside. He's not interested in the restoration of democracy, apparently, and he's interested in money.
I mean, that the fact that he isn't interested in establishing a democracy, and as you said, there's been no attempt to sort of have regime change as justification. Is that going to be problematic for him? Is he going to face any opposition from Congress and from the rest of the US political community because of that?
Well, first of all, he has no plan for the second day. His plan for the second day is that he has essentially turned over Venezuela to the existing state without Maduro. And that's apparently the plan, if there is a plan. Domestically, within the United States, this is, over time, not going to play well because he is not dealing with domestic economic problems, which are his chief problem here. And this will be seen as a distraction. It will be seen as a betrayal of his America First agenda. He will be attacked for violations of international law. And he said he was judicious, and we are above all judicious, he said. And of course, that's risible. So he's setting himself up for a fall here domestically.
I mean, yes, it really could backfire, couldn't it? Especially amongst his MAGA base. As you said, it's sort of, it's definitely not America First. Certainly, as it was sold to his base, promising to end forever wars and not to waste their money. It's interesting. Pete Buttigieg has tweeted, "It's an old and obvious pattern. An unpopular president failing on the economy and losing his grip on power at home decides to launch a war for foreign regime change abroad." Do you think there's anything in that? In that he is attempting, however backwardly this may work and however much it might backfire, to shore up support at home with this aggression abroad?
Well, he will increasingly be seen as wagging the dog. I don't know if you remember that
Yes,
movie, Wag the
absolutely.
Dog. And he will be criticized for that. And there are a lot of questions that that both the Congress, the international community, and the press will ask about this entire operation and how it happened and going forward. Among them, was it an internal coup? Who was involved on the inside with Trump? And there will be questions about what deals Trump made before the coup and afterwards with special interests, promising them deals with Venezuela. And that's going to be a very important question that will be raised.
I mean, but can he actually do what he's saying he can do in terms of controlling the oil?
Well, only if he makes a deal with the existing powers in Venezuela, who are, you know, the Venezuelan state without Maduro. The state's been decapitated without him, but it still exists. And it's now being run by the vice president and her brother Jorge, and also the military has been essentially untouched. Trump is not administering the state. He has no control over the Venezuelan military. He's not in charge of the payrolls of all the government employees in Venezuela. He has no occupation. He says he's going to run Venezuela. He's not running anything.
What's the reaction like in America today, Sydney? What are people saying?
There are no polls, but the reaction is very split and partisan. It's very much. People have raised the analogy to the first President Bush, Elder Bush, George H.W. Bush, and his Operation Just Cause in Panama, which removed the dictator Manuel Noriega, seized him, took him to the U.S., put him on trial for drug charges. That is, in every respect, a very different operation. Panama is a small country. Noriega had declared war on the United States. He was unelected. And it was extremely popular from the beginning on a nonpartisan basis. Bush had 80% approval of Operation Just Cause. On the contrary, there's a very sharp partisan divide in the United States. Democrats are speaking up. Some of Trump's MAGA supporters are speaking up against it as representing the hypocrisy of his America First agenda, not focusing on the country and instead engaging in wars abroad. We must remember that Trump gained the Republican nomination critical of George W. Bush and attacking his brother Jeb Bush in the 2016 primaries as responsible for, quote, forever wars and wars abroad rather than being America first. So he has created a whole new situation in which he has no control right now.
When Trump was sworn in, Sydney, less than a year ago, he also promised to take back the Panama Canal. And then he said he'd seize Greenland. And last night, Marco Rubio said that if he was in Havana, he'd be worried. Should we now be taking very seriously those threats, however casual they seemed at the time, of international aggression?
Well, no one knows how irresponsible and reckless the Trump administration is going to be. Katie Miller, the wife of Stephen Miller, the deputy chief of staff to Trump, who is often, for all intents and purposes, an acting president and is somebody deeply involved in this Venezuelan operation, posted on Twitter a map of Greenland with the U.S. flag on it, and above it the word soon.
Well, that's a fairly clear indication of what some people want and are predicting.
That would be an attack on our NATO ally, Denmark, and the end of NATO in reality.
Absolutely. Sydney, even Vladimir Putin has condemned this as an act of aggression, which, some would say seems a little hypocritical, but still, what are the implications for things like not just what it means, what it signals to other countries and what they should be allowed to do, but what are the implications for things like Trump's attempts to negotiate peace elsewhere, including in Ukraine, when he launches this sort of aggression himself?
Well, Trump has never really invoked international law and has shown contempt for it. And this act completely removes that as a means by which to criticize, hold up, or use against Putin's aggression in Ukraine or China's claim to Taiwan. So Trump has really removed a great not only moral instrument from the United States, but a real a preventative instrument, calling on other nations to join with the United States in an alliance around the rule of law.
Yeah, and the implications for that internationally are absolutely enormous, aren't they? Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Sidney. It's fantastic to have your insights and expertise on this. That was Sidney Blumenthal, former advisor to Bill and Hillary Clinton.